I was sitting at my own kitchen table when my son looked me in the eye and said the words I never thought I would hear. "It is time you moved out, Mom." Just like that, as casual as ordering coffee. Derek sat across from me with his wife Brittany beside him, both watching me like I was supposed to agree. This was my house, my name on the deed, 35 years of mortgage payments. Every memory of my late husband Walter lived in these walls. And my son was telling me to leave. My hands were shaking as I set down my coffee cup. The kitchen fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator, the same one Walter and I had bought on sale 15 years ago. I looked at Derek, really looked at him, trying to find the little boy I had raised somewhere in this 42-year-old stranger sitting across from me. "When did you want me out?" I asked quietly. 2 months, Derek said, like he was being generous. "That is fair, right? Gives you time to find a place. Pack up. We will help you." Brittany nodded along. "We have been very patient," she added. "The kids need more space. This house is just too big for one person." I wanted to scream, "Patient? This was my house." But I did not say that. Not yet. Instead, I asked, "Where exactly do you think I should go?" "There are nice senior apartments across town," Derek said. "One-bedroom places. Much easier for you to manage. Less upkeep." Less upkeep. As if I could not manage my own home. The home I had kept spotless for 35 years. "Let me think about it," I said. They exchanged a look. "Sure, Mom," Derek said, "but we really need an answer soon. We have plans." Plans. For my house. They left for the day. Derek to his construction job, Brittany to drop the kids at school before her shift at the department store. I sat alone in the kitchen I had painted 3 times over the decades, the one where I had taught my children to bake, where Walter and I had shared countless meals, and I let myself remember how we got here. 3 years ago, Walter died. Heart attack. He was 64. One morning he kissed me goodbye, went to check the mail, and collapsed on the front lawn. The EMTs said he was gone before he hit the ground. Small comfort. Derek came to the funeral with his concerned face on. "Mom, you should not be alone," he said. "Just for a little while, let us stay with you, help you through this." It was supposed to be 6 months. Derek had lost his job and needed to save money. Brittany and the kids moved into our guest rooms. I told myself it was temporary. Family helps family. But 6 months became a year. A year became 2. Derek started making decisions without asking me. He changed the locks for security, he said, and gave himself the only spare key. He parked his pickup truck in my spot, the one closest to the door that Walter always kept clear for me. Brittany rearranged my kitchen, moved my dishes, complained my furniture was old-fashioned and depressing. Tyler, my 16-year-old grandson, took the master bedroom because he needed space for his gaming setup. Emma, 13, took over the sewing room I had used for quilting. I tried to talk to Derek about boundaries. He dismissed me. "This is family, Mom. We are helping each other out." Helping. While I cooked their meals, did their laundry, paid the utilities they ran up with endless streaming and air conditioning set to 65 degrees even in summer. This morning had been the final step in his gradual takeover. The demand that I leave my own home. I sat there thinking until noon. Then I made a phone call. Donald Grant, the realtor, answered on the second ring. I had bought this house from him 35 years ago. He was 60 then, nearly 70 now, still working, still remembered me. "Donald," I said, "I need to sell my house. Fast." There was a pause. "Hazel, is everything all right?" I explained the situation in brief, cold terms. My son had moved in 3 years ago. Now he wanted me out. I was selling before he could take it from me. Donald understood immediately. "It is your house, Hazel. You can sell it whenever you want. I can have it listed this afternoon." "Do it," I said. While Derek installed drywall at whatever construction site employed him today, while Brittany rang up customers at the mall, while my grandchildren sat in algebra and English classes, I met Donald at my house. He walked through, took photos, wrote up the listing. We priced it below market value, $400,000. I had bought it for $73,000 in 1990. Walter and I had paid it off slowly, carefully, every month without fail. "I need it sold quickly," I told Donald. He nodded. "I will make some calls. I have investors who look for properties in this neighborhood." Next, I called Patricia Hughes, a lawyer I knew from church. I explained the situation. "Does your son have any legal claim to the house?" she asked. "None. It is in my name alone. Walter left everything to me. Derek is essentially a tenant at will." "Then you are within your rights to sell," Patricia said. "If you want to evict him instead, we can do that too. But selling is cleaner. He has no standing to stop you." That afternoon, Donald called back. "Cash offer. Full price. Investor wants a quick close. 3 weeks. "Take it," I said. Over the next 2 weeks, I moved like a ghost through my own home. I acted normal, made dinner, did laundry, smiled at everyone. Derek and Brittany noticed nothing. They were too busy measuring the master bedroom, planning how they would redecorate once I moved out. They talked about knocking down a wall, putting in a walk-in closet. They talked about it in front of me, as if I had already agreed to leave. I packed in secret. My clothes, my photo albums, Walter's things I had kept, the quilt his mother made us as a wedding gift, the china we got for our 25th anniversary. I rented a storage unit across town and moved boxes there piece by piece in my car, while everyone was gone during the day. I found a 1-bedroom apartment, small, $750 a month, just for me. I put down first, last, and deposit, signed a 6-month lease. The closing was scheduled for a Thursday. Derek worked Thursdays, long shifts, 10-hour days. Brittany had Thursdays off, but she used them to run errands and have lunch with her sister. I met Donald at the title company at 10 in the morning. The investor was there, a young man in an expensive suit who shook my hand and said he was happy to add this property to his portfolio. I signed papers. He signed papers. The title company notarized everything. The check was deposited directly into my account, $420,000. I drove home. The movers I had hired were already there waiting. I let them in. They packed only my belongings. The furniture was mostly mine anyway, bought with Walter over decades. The couch Derek loved to sprawl across? Ours. The kitchen table where he had told me to move out? Ours. The beds his children slept in? Guest room furniture that was ours. It took 3 hours to empty the house of everything that belonged to me. Derek's things stayed. His clothes, his tools in the garage, Brittany's makeup and shoes, the kids' gaming systems and school papers, all of it stayed right where it was. When the movers left, I walked through the empty house one last time. I cried a little in the kitchen, said goodbye to Walter's memory. Then I left my keys on the counter with a note. "The house is sold. New owners take possession tomorrow at noon. You have 24 hours to remove your belongings. Mom." I went to my new apartment. Small, quiet, mine. That evening, my phone started ringing. I did not answer. Derek called 11 times, left 7 voicemails. The first ones were confused. "Mom, where are you? Did you move already?" The middle ones were angry. "What do you mean the house is sold? You cannot do this." The last one was cold. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life, Mom," he said. "I am going to destroy you for this." I sat in my empty apartment with the phone buzzing on the table and felt the first wave of real fear. What had I done? 2 days later, I was arranging books on the shelf in my new living room when someone started pounding on my door. The sound echoed through the small apartment like gunshots. "Open up!" Derek shouted from the hallway. I stood frozen. The pounding continued. "I know you are in there, Mom. Open this door right now." I opened it. Derek pushed past me with Brittany right behind him. Other doors in the hallway cracked open. My new neighbors, people I had not even met yet, peeking out at the disturbance. "How could you?" Derek said. His face was red, a vein pulsing in his forehead. "That was my house." "It was my house," I said quietly. "Walter and I paid for it. Your name was never on the deed." "You promised it to me," he said. "Dad promised it to me. He told me that house would be mine." "That is not true," I said. "Walter never said that." "You are lying," Brittany said. She stood with her arms crossed, her face twisted in anger I had never seen directed at me before. "You are a liar and a thief." "Please leave," I said. "We are not done here," Derek said. "You stole from your own son, from your grandchildren. Where are they supposed to live now?" "That is not my problem," I said, and the words felt both terrible and freeing. "We will see about that," Derek said. He pointed at me. We will see. They left. I closed the door and leaned against it, shaking. Down the hall, I heard Mrs. Patterson from apartment 304 tell someone, "Poor woman. What an awful son." 1 week later, a process server knocked on my door. I signed for the papers with numb fingers. Derek was suing me. The lawsuit was 23 pages long. I read it sitting at my tiny kitchen table, and with each page my stomach sank further. Derek claimed I lacked mental capacity, that I had been unduly influenced by Donald the realtor and Patricia the lawyer who took advantage of a vulnerable widow, that I had made a verbal agreement to transfer the house to Derek, that Walter had wanted Derek to have the house. All lies, but they were written in official legal language on official court documents. He was demanding the sale be reversed. If that was not possible, he wanted $420,000 plus punitive damages for emotional distress. I called Patricia. She said it was a frivolous suit, but we needed to fight it. Her retainer was $15,000. I paid it, watching my bank account drop. That evening, Tyler texted me. "Grandma, why did you do that? Dad is so angry. He says you betrayed us." I stared at the message. My grandson, who I had babysat every weekend when he was little, who I had taught to ride a bike, who I had made chocolate chip cookies for every Sunday. He thought I had betrayed them. I did not respond. What could I say? Emma did not text at all. When I tried to call her, she declined and sent a message. "You hurt my dad. I do not want to talk to you." 2 weeks after the lawsuit was filed, Derek filed an emergency motion. A hearing was scheduled for the following Monday. I met Patricia at the courthouse. "Your Honor," Derek's lawyer said, standing in his expensive suit, "we are requesting a temporary restraining order freezing Mrs. Hazel's bank accounts. There is significant concern she may dissipate the assets or flee the jurisdiction." "That is absurd," Patricia said. "Mrs. Hazel has lived in this city for 40 years. She is not going anywhere." The judge, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, reviewed the papers. "Mrs. Hazel, have you made any large purchases since the sale of the home?" "I bought furniture for my apartment," I said. "Basic necessities." "How much?" "About $6,000, I said. The judge made a note. "I am going to grant the temporary injunction pending a full hearing. Mrs. Hazel's accounts will be frozen, except for a monthly allowance of $1,000 for living expenses." "Your Honor," Patricia started to argue, but the judge held up her hand. "This is temporary," she said. "We will have a full hearing in 30 days. I walked out of the courthouse in a daze. My accounts were frozen. $414,000 locked away. I could not touch it, could not access it. I had $1,000 for the month to cover rent, food, utilities, everything. Derek was standing on the courthouse steps. He smiled at me. "You should have just moved out quietly," he said. I drove home and sat in my car in the parking lot for an hour before I could make myself go inside. 6 weeks later, I sat across from Patricia in her office preparing for the preliminary hearing. My credit card was maxed out. I had been buying groceries on it, paying small bills, trying to stretch the $1,000 monthly allowance. Martha, my friend from church, had started bringing me casseroles. I was 67 years old and accepting charity. "The hearing is next week," Patricia said. "We have your medical records showing perfect cognitive function, your bank statements showing decades of responsible financial decisions, character witnesses." "What does Derek have?" I asked. She slid a folder across the desk. "Depositions from your other children." I opened it. My hands started shaking. Carol, my daughter, had given a statement. "Mom has been forgetful lately. We have been worried about her. She gets confused sometimes." Paul, my younger son, said something similar. "She is not as sharp as she used to be. We discussed getting her evaluated." There were statements from neighbors. One said she saw me in my bathrobe outside and I seemed disoriented. That had been a Saturday morning when I was gardening early before it got hot. I had thrown a robe over my clothes because I was not dressed yet. There were photos of my house before I moved out. The kitchen counter with dishes in the sink, papers stacked on the dining table, a laundry basket in the hallway. Normal signs of people actually living in a house. But the lawyer had captioned them, "Evidence of declining ability to maintain household." "They are framing me," I said. Patricia nodded. "Derek has been thorough. He is painting a picture of diminished capacity. The preliminary hearing was in a larger courtroom. Derek sat at the plaintiff's table with his lawyer. Carol and Paul sat behind him in the gallery. My own children, they would not look at me. Derek's lawyer called witnesses. A neighbor testified that I seemed confused sometimes. Carol took the stand and cried as she talked about being worried about me. Paul said he thought I needed more support, that selling the house was impulsive and out of character. Then Derek testified. He cried. Real tears ran down his face as he talked about how he just wanted to help his mother, how he had moved in to take care of me after Dad died, how I had promised him the house for his family, how he was shocked when I sold it without telling anyone. I just want her to be safe, he said, his voice breaking. I do not even care about the money anymore. I am worried about her. She is not making good decisions. I watched this performance and felt sick. Patricia put me on the stand. I explained calmly that it was my house, that Derek had moved in as a guest, that he gradually took over, that he finally demanded I leave. I was articulate, composed. I showed the judge I was perfectly competent. But the damage was done. Derek's tears, Carol's worry, Paul's concern, the photos, the neighbor testimony. The judge took a week to rule. When the decision came, Patricia called me with the news. He is letting the case proceed to trial, she said. The account freeze stays in place. And Hazel, there is one more thing. What? The judge is ordering you to undergo a comprehensive psychological evaluation. Given the family concerns, he wants an expert opinion on your mental capacity. When? You have an appointment with Dr. Raymond Porter next Tuesday. I hung up and sat in my apartment staring at the wall. My son had turned my whole family against me. He had convinced them I was losing my mind. And now a judge was ordering me to prove my sanity. Dr. Raymond Porter's office was in a medical building downtown. Beige walls, bland art, a waiting room with magazines from 2 years ago. I sat there for 20 minutes before a receptionist called my name. Dr. Porter was in his 60s, gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind of calm professional demeanor that probably made people trust him. He shook my hand and gestured to a chair. Mrs. Hazel, he said, thank you for coming in. I understand the court has ordered this evaluation. Yes, I said. Over the next 3 sessions, spread across 2 weeks, Dr. Porter put me through a battery of tests. Memory tests where I had to recall lists of words. Cognitive tests where I solved puzzles and answered questions. Psychological inventories where I rated my mood and thoughts. He asked me about my life, my marriage, Walter's death, Derek's behavior, my decision to sell the house. I answered everything honestly. I remembered all the words, solved all the puzzles, explained my reasoning clearly. I was sharp, alert, completely competent. Dr. Porter seemed satisfied. At the end of the 3rd session, he said he would write up his report and submit it to the court. I left feeling hopeful. The evaluation would prove I was fine. Derek's case would fall apart. But while I waited for the report, other problems piled up. My credit card was maxed out at $12,000. I could not pay it down with my accounts frozen. The apartment rent was $750 a month, leaving me $250 from my $1,000 allowance for food, utilities, phone, everything else. Martha was helping, but I could not keep accepting her charity. I applied for part-time work at grocery stores, retail shops, anywhere. Every application was rejected. No one wanted to hire a 67-year-old woman with no recent work history. I was going into debt to survive while Derek lived off whatever money he had managed to save from his construction job. Tyler reached out again. He asked to meet me at a coffee shop. I hoped maybe he was coming around, seeing through Derek's lies. We sat across from each other in a corner booth. Tyler looked uncomfortable, picking at his napkin. I miss you, Grandma, he said. I miss you too, sweetheart. But I do not understand. Why did you sell the house? Dad said Grandpa wanted him to have it. That is not true, I said. Your grandfather never said that. The house was mine. Your father moved in as a guest and then tried to force me out. Tyler frowned. But Dad says you are sick, that you need help. Is that true? I am not sick, I said. I sold my own house because it was mine to sell. That is all. He looked confused, torn between believing his father and believing me. In the end, he said he had to go. He hugged me, but it felt hollow. Emma would not meet me at all. When I texted her, she responded, "You hurt my dad. I do not want to see you." My grandchildren turned against me. 3 weeks before trial, I received Dr. Porter's report in the mail. I opened it with shaking hands. The first few pages described the tests. Then came his conclusions. "Patient demonstrates generally adequate cognitive function," he wrote. "However, there are some signs of defensive posturing and rigidity in thinking that may suggest early cognitive decline masked by above-average baseline intelligence. Patient shows difficulty accepting alternative perspectives regarding family conflict. Recommendation for further evaluation. Unable to conclusively determine capacity at this time." I read it 3 times. This was not what our sessions had been like. I had been open, thoughtful, reflective. I had not been defensive or rigid. I had passed every test. I called Patricia. "This report does not match the evaluation," I said. "Something is wrong." She was quiet for a moment. "Hazel, I have to be honest. This is concerning. If Dr. Porter is saying he cannot conclusively determine your capacity, that gives Derek ammunition." But I was fine in those sessions. I answered everything. I was sharp. "I believe you," Patricia said. "But this is what is in the official record now." That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how Dr. Porter's report could be so different from our actual sessions. Had I said something wrong? Missed some test? Or had something else happened? 2 days later, Derek filed another motion. This one made my blood run cold. Petition for temporary conservatorship. He was arguing that I could not manage my own affairs, that I was in debt, could not pay my bills, was refusing family help, that Dr. Porter's evaluation showed concerning signs, that I needed someone to manage my finances for my own protection. He was asking the court to put him in charge of everything. My money, my decisions, my life. The emergency hearing was scheduled for 1 week. I met with Patricia. She was grim. "This is serious," she said. "If the judge grants conservatorship, even temporarily, Derek will control all your assets. He will make all your financial decisions." "Can he do that?" I asked. "After suing me? Is that not a conflict of interest?" "It should be," Patricia said. "But judges sometimes appoint family members as conservators. We will argue against it, but with the lawsuit pending, the frozen accounts, your apparent debt, and Dr. Porter's ambiguous report, Derek has built a case that you need help." "This cannot happen," I said. "We will fight it," Patricia said. But I heard the doubt in her voice. The night before the conservatorship hearing, I could not sleep. I got up at 2 a.m. and sat at my kitchen table going through every document I had. Bank statements, credit card bills, court papers, looking for anything that could help me. That is when I noticed something strange. My credit card bill showed charges I did not recognize. Small amounts. $100 here, $75 there, different vendors. Gas stations in parts of town I never went to. Restaurants I had never been to. The dates were from the past 6 months, all while Derek was still living with me. I called the credit card company. Even though my main accounts were frozen, they could still tell me about charges. The representative confirmed it. Someone had been using my card number for months. Small purchases, carefully spaced out, so I would not notice right away. Who had access to my purse, my wallet, my credit card information? Derek. He had lived in my house for 3 years. He knew where I kept everything. I dug deeper, called other credit card companies, checked my credit report, which was free to access even with frozen accounts. There were accounts I had never opened, credit cards in my name I had never applied for, small loans, store financing, all opened in the past year, all with balances. Someone had stolen my identity. Total fraudulent debt, $68,000. My credit score had been destroyed, and I knew exactly who had done it. Derek had access to everything he needed: my social security number, my mother's maiden name, my date of birth, every piece of information required to open accounts in my name. He had 3 years to collect it all. I had evidence now, proof of identity theft. Proof Derek was not just a greedy son, but an actual criminal. But it was 3 a.m, and the conservatorship hearing was at 9. I had 6 hours to figure out what to do with this information. The conservatorship hearing started exactly on time. I sat next to Patricia at the defendant's table. Derek sat across from us looking somber and concerned, the perfect worried son. "Your Honor, I need to present new evidence," I said before the proceedings really began. The judge, a different one this time, a man in his 60s named Judge Morrison, looked over his glasses at me. "What evidence, Mrs. Hazel?" "I have discovered fraudulent accounts opened in my name. Credit cards, loans. I believe my son has been committing identity theft." Derek's lawyer stood up immediately. "Your Honor, this is exactly the kind of paranoid thinking we have documented. Mrs. Hazel is now accusing her own son of crimes without any proof. This demonstrates the concerning thought patterns Dr. Porter noted in his evaluation." "Do you have proof of these allegations?" Judge Morrison asked me. "I have the bills, the account statements," I said. I started to pull papers from my folder. "Your Honor," Derek's lawyer said, "even if these accounts exist, given Mrs. Hazel's documented memory issues, is it not more likely she opened these accounts herself and forgot? Or that in her current emotional state, she is fabricating accusations to deflect from the real issue, which is her diminished capacity to manage her affairs?" Patricia argued. "Your Honor, Mrs. Hazel's medical records show she is cognitively sound. She has no memory issues. These fraudulent accounts are evidence of financial exploitation, not diminished capacity." But we were unprepared. The identity theft was new. We had no forensic analysis, no investigation, no direct proof Derek had done it, just circumstantial evidence and my word. Judge Morrison listened to both sides. He reviewed Dr. Porter's evaluation, which said I showed signs of defensive posturing and possible cognitive decline. He heard testimony from Carol and Paul again, my own children saying they were worried about me. Derek took the stand. He cried again. "Your Honor, I am worried about my mother. She is making these wild accusations. She sold her house without telling anyone. She is drowning in debt. She is refusing help from family. I do not care about the money from the house. I just want her to be safe and taken care of. I am willing to serve as her conservator, to help her manage things until she is stable again." It was a masterful performance. Patricia put me on the stand. I explained calmly about the identity theft, about Derek gradually taking over my house, about him demanding I leave. I showed I was articulate, rational, competent. But the damage was done. The ambiguous psych eval, the family testimony, Derek's tears, the debt in my name, the pending lawsuit. It all painted a picture of a woman in crisis, whether from cognitive decline or emotional distress. Judge Morrison took a 30-minute recess to review everything. When he came back, his face was set. "I am going to grant temporary conservatorship," he said. "Given the concerning reports from family members, the ambiguous psychological evaluation, and Mrs. Hazel's current financial distress, I believe intervention is warranted. Mr. Derek will be appointed temporary conservator over his mother's financial affairs, effective immediately, pending the outcome of the civil trial." "No," I said. "Your Honor, please." "The conservatorship is temporary," Judge Morrison said. "Mrs. Hazel can petition to dissolve it, but for now, Mr. Derek will manage her finances and must account for all expenditures. This is for Mrs. Hazel's protection." The gavel came down. Outside the courthouse, Derek walked up to me. He was not crying anymore. He smiled. "You should have just moved out, Mom," he said quietly. "Would have been easier for everyone." That afternoon, everything changed. Derek, as my conservator, had immediate access to all my accounts. The freeze was lifted, but only for him. I still could not touch my own money. Within hours, he started making transfers. Patricia called me that evening. "Hazel, I have been monitoring the accounts as allowed under the conservatorship order. Derek is moving money." "Where?" I asked. "He just paid himself $42,000 for back rent for the 3 years he lived with you." "He never paid rent," I said. "He is claiming it now. He also paid himself $15,000 for caretaker fees, another $20,000 for emergency conservator compensation. And he paid his legal bills from your account, $38,000. That is $115,000, I said. "Yes," Patricia said, "and there is nothing we can do about it right now. He is your conservator. He has legal authority." "How much is left?" "About $305,000. For now," I thought. "Until Derek took that too." My new reality set in over the next few days. I could not access my money. Derek gave me an allowance of $200 per month. $200. For everything. Rent was $750. I could not pay it. I went to Derek's new apartment. He had moved into a nice 2-bedroom after I sold the house, using money he claimed to have saved. I knocked on the door. Brittany answered. "What do you want?" "I need to talk to Derek about the rent. I cannot pay it on $200 a month." "That is not our problem," she said. "You should not have gotten yourself into this mess." Derek appeared behind her. "Mom," he said, "you know, there is a nice assisted living facility across town. We could move you there. They would take care of everything. You would not have to worry about rent or bills." "I am not going to a nursing home," I said. "It is not a nursing home. It is assisted living. Very nice. I will send you the brochure." He closed the door. I stood in the hallway staring at the closed door, understanding his plan. Drain my accounts. Force me into a facility. Control me completely. Martha let me move into her spare room when I got the eviction notice from my apartment 2 weeks later. I packed my few belongings into my car and moved into my friend's small house. At 67 years old, I was homeless, except for her charity. Every night, I lay in Martha's guest bed and thought about giving up. Derek had won. He had my money, my family, the judge's approval. What else could I do? Then I would think about Walter. 37 years of marriage, he had worked construction, come home with aching muscles and dirty hands, and never complained. I had worked as a school secretary, careful with every penny. We saved for that house. It was our dream, our security. Walter would never forgive me for giving up now. So I did not give up. I started investigating. I used the computers at the public library, since I could not afford internet at Martha's house. I searched Derek's name, found his social media accounts, went back through 2 years of posts. There were photos from an expensive vacation to Hawaii, Derek and Brittany on the beach, drinks in hand. That was 18 months ago, when Derek supposedly had no job and no money. Posts about investment opportunities and business ventures, check-ins at expensive restaurants, golf courses, bars, all while he claimed to be broke and living with me to save money. I dug deeper in public records, found 3 small claims court cases filed against Derek over the past 5 years, all settled, all from people in the old neighborhood near my house. One case jumped out. A woman named Dolores Simmons. Her claim said Derek had defrauded her out of $12,000, settled out of court. I found Dolores's phone number through the reverse directory at the library. Called her that evening from Martha's house. Dolores was 81 years old. She was scared to talk at first. Then the story came out. Derek had done work on her roof 3 years ago. She hired him, paid him half up front. He asked for her banking information for the final payment. Then money went missing from her account. When she confronted him, Derek claimed it was a misunderstanding, paid her back half of what he took, and she dropped the case. "If he did this to you too," Dolores said, "maybe we should report him to the police." I kept researching. Found 2 more victims. Janet, 73, said Derek had taken her money in a fake investment scheme. Ruth, 68, said Derek charged her for home repairs he never completed. Both settled quietly to avoid hassle. Derek had been running scams on vulnerable people for years. Elderly women, mostly. People who trusted easily. People who would not fight back. The whole thing with moving in with me had been a long con. 3 years to gain access to all my personal information, my social security number, my bank accounts, everything he needed to steal my identity. The lawsuit was cover. The conservatorship was the tool. He planned to drain my accounts legally, claim it was all for my care, and by the time anyone questioned it, the money would be gone and I would be locked in a facility, unable to fight back. I spent every day at the library, building a case. I found more victims, talked to neighbors from my old street. Mrs. Kowalski next door said Derek always had people over at odd hours. Strange meetings. She thought maybe drugs, but never reported it. Mr. Thompson down the street said Derek once asked for his social security number for a business opportunity. When Mr. Thompson refused, Derek got angry. The pattern was clear. Derek was a con artist, a predator who targeted vulnerable people, usually elderly, usually in his own community where people trusted him. I compiled everything into a folder: testimonies, public records, social media screenshots, bank statements showing the fraudulent accounts. But I had a problem. I was under conservatorship, officially deemed not competent to manage my own affairs. If I went to the police, Derek's lawyer would say I was paranoid, confused, making things up. My own family had testified against me. Who would believe me? Then I discovered something that made everything worse. I checked my credit report again. New accounts had been opened in the past 2 weeks. Since the conservatorship, Derek was using his legal authority as my conservator to open credit cards, take out personal loans, create lines of credit, all in my name. He was not just stealing what I had, he was destroying my financial future, loading me with debt that would follow me forever. I watched the balances in my accounts drop every day. Derek paying himself, paying his lawyer, paying phantom caregivers and medical bills that did not exist. He was draining everything, creating a paper trail of expenses that looked legitimate but were completely fabricated. The trial for the house sale was 5 weeks away. At this rate, there would be nothing left to fight over. I sat in Martha's living room one night with all my evidence spread across her coffee table and realized the terrible truth. I had uncovered Derek's crimes. I had proof. But I was more trapped than ever. The solution had not freed me. It had shown me how much worse the situation really was. The eviction from my apartment became official 3 days later. I was living in Martha's spare room, 67 years old, sleeping in a twin bed with my clothes in boxes, financially trapped by my own son. Derek called me. "Mom, this is embarrassing. You are living with strangers. Come to Sunset Hills. It is a nice place. Clean, safe, they have activities." Sunset Hills was the assisted living facility. I had looked it up. Medicaid facility, shared rooms, locked doors. Once I went in, Derek would have complete control. "I am not going there," I said. "You are being stubborn," he said. "This is for your own good." I hung up on him. Patricia called the next day with more bad news. "Hazel, I cannot continue representing you without payment. The retainer is gone. I have been working reduced rate, but I need at least another $10,000 to take this through trial." "I do not have it," I said. "Derek controls everything." "I can recommend a public defender," she said, "or you could represent yourself." Against Derek's expensive lawyer? It was impossible. 5 weeks until trial. Derek was draining about $15,000 a week from my accounts. If the pattern continued, there would be maybe $100,000 left by trial. He would claim it was all spent on my care, fabricated receipts, fake bills, all prepared to justify the theft. I prayed that night for the first time since Walter died. Sitting on the edge of Martha's guest bed, hands folded, whispering into the dark. "I need help. Please, show me what to do." The next morning, someone knocked on Martha's door. I answered it. An elderly woman stood there, thin and bird-like, with white hair and sharp blue eyes. "Are you Hazel?" she asked. "Yes. I am Dolores Simmons. We spoke on the phone. I have been thinking about our conversation. Can I come in?" Over coffee at Martha's kitchen table, Dolores told me she had been making calls. After talking to me, she reached out to other people in the old neighborhood who might have dealt with Derek. She found 4 more women he had scammed. "We are all afraid to say anything," Dolores said, "but together, maybe we can stop him." Over the next week, I met the other women. Janet, who Derek cheated in a fake investment scheme. Ruth, who paid for home repairs he never did. Angela, who loaned him money he never repaid, then he claimed she had gifted it. Teresa, who discovered credit cards opened in her name after Derek helped her with paperwork following her husband's death. All elderly. All women. All too scared or embarrassed to press charges. All had settled quietly, signed non-disclosure agreements, tried to move on. But now they saw Derek doing it again. To his own mother. And they wanted to help. Angela had been a paralegal before she retired. She explained that NDAs do not cover criminal activity. If we are reporting crimes, the NDAs do not apply. "We could go to the police together," Dolores said. 6 victims, all with the same story. That is a pattern. It was hope. First real hope I had felt in months. We compiled all our evidence. Police reports from the cases that were filed, bank statements, emails, contracts, settlement agreements. A timeline showing Derek's pattern of targeting elderly women over 6 years. 4 weeks before trial, we went to the police station together. 6 elderly women walking into the Financial Crimes Division. We asked to speak to a detective. Detective Sarah Morrison met with us in a conference room. She was in her early 40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She listened to each of us tell our stories, took notes, reviewed our evidence. "This is substantial," she said. "I will open an investigation." "How long will it take?" I asked. "Financial crimes investigations take time. We need to subpoena records, conduct forensic accounting, interview witnesses. At least 2 months. "I do not have 2 months," I said. "The trial is in 4 weeks. He is draining my accounts. He is going to run." Detective Morrison frowned. "Run?" Teresa, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "My nephew works at a travel agency. He said Derek came in last week asking about Costa Rica. Flights for 4 people, one-way tickets." "When?" Detective Morrison asked. 3 weeks from now," Teresa said. 1 week before the trial. Detective Morrison looked at me. "Your son is planning to flee the country?" "He has been setting this up for years," I said. "The lawsuit is cover. The conservatorship gave him access to drain everything legally. He is going to take the money and disappear. If he leaves the jurisdiction, it gets much harder to prosecute," Detective Morrison said. "Let me see what I can do." She started an investigation. Subpoenaed Derek's bank records. My bank records. Started forensic accounting to trace where the money was going. But Derek found out. He had friends in the system, someone who tipped him off that an investigation was starting. His response was immediate and vicious. 3 days after our meeting with Detective Morrison, Derek filed another emergency motion. This one made my chest tighten when I read it. Petition for immediate placement in secured memory care facility. His argument was that I was making paranoid accusations, coordinating with other confused seniors, harassing him, becoming a danger to myself, that I needed to be placed in a locked facility immediately for my own safety. The emergency hearing was scheduled for 3 days away. If he succeeded, I would be locked in a memory care unit, unable to communicate freely, unable to work with the police, unable to testify at trial, silenced completely. It was Derek's final move, put me away before I could destroy him. We worked frantically. Detective Morrison pushed her investigation as fast as possible, but she needed time. Martha's house became a command center. 6 elderly women and 1 detective, going through financial records, making phone calls, building a case. Ruth, who had been an accountant before retirement, analyzed Derek's financial trail. "Look at this," she said, spreading papers across Martha's dining table. "Derek has opened 17 accounts, using his conservator authority. 17. He is pulling money from your account, moving it through shell accounts, cleaning it. This is money laundering." Janet found something else. "I checked property records. Derek just bought a house, $230,000, cash. Last week. It is in Brittany's name only." "He used my money," I said. "Money he claimed was for my care." "That is embezzlement," Angela said. "Breach of fiduciary duty as conservator. Criminal." Teresa came back from talking to her nephew at the travel agency. "The tickets to Costa Rica. They are for next week. Derek, Brittany, Tyler, Emma. Leaving 3 days before the trial. One-way tickets." "He is running," I said. We gave everything to Detective Morrison. She worked through the night with her partner, running forensics, building the case. 2 days before the facility hearing, Detective Morrison called me. "We have enough. Forensic accounting shows Derek has stolen $362,000. He used his position as conservator to drain your accounts, open fraudulent accounts, commit identity theft on 6 victims, engage in money laundering and embezzlement. The conservatorship records show he reported spending money on medical care, facility deposits, therapeutic services. All fake. Forged receipts. We have him." "Can you arrest him before the hearing?" I asked. "I am filing for a warrant now." The day before the facility hearing, Derek was arrested. At his apartment, Brittany screaming, the kids crying, neighbors watching. Police read him his rights and walked him out in handcuffs. Charges: elder abuse, financial exploitation, identity theft, 6 counts, fraud, embezzlement, forgery, Grand theft. Bail was set at $500,000. Derek could not make it. His accounts were frozen now, just like he had done to me. The emergency facility hearing was canceled. The conservatorship was automatically suspended upon the criminal charges. My bank accounts were unfrozen by emergency court order. I logged into my bank that afternoon with shaking hands. Balance, $63,000 out of $420,000. Derek had taken the rest. But I was free. No conservator, no Derek, no facility. I sat at Martha's kitchen table and cried. The 5 other women sat with me. We had done it. Together. 3 days after Derek's arrest, my phone rang. It was Carol. "Mom," she said, her voice thick with tears. "I am so sorry. We did not know. Derek lied to us about everything." I sat on Martha's couch holding the phone, not sure what to say. Paul called an hour later, said the same thing. "I am so sorry, Mom. He told us you were confused, that you needed help. We thought we were protecting you." Tyler texted, "Grandma, I am so sorry. Dad lied about everything. Can I see you?" Even Emma sent a message. "I am sorry I did not believe you. I am sorry for what I said." My family, realizing too late what Derek really was. I met Tyler at the same coffee shop where we had talked months ago. He looked older now, or maybe just more aware of the world's ugliness. He hugged me tight. "I am so sorry, Grandma," he said. "I should have believed you." "Your father is very convincing," I said. "He fooled a lot of people. He stole from you. From his own mom." Tyler's voice broke. "How could he do that?" "I do not know, sweetheart. I really do not know." Over the next weeks, the criminal case against Derek built momentum. Detective Morrison kept me updated. The forensic accounting revealed the full scope of his crimes. Derek had stolen from 6 elderly women over 6 years. Total theft, $490,000. He ran scams, identity theft, fraud. Used his construction job as cover, befriending vulnerable people, gaining access to their homes and information, then stealing from them. Moving in with me had been his biggest con. 3 years of access, 3 years of planning. The lawsuit was not about the house. It was about getting control through conservatorship, so he could legally drain everything. The conservatorship had been the perfect tool. As conservator, he could open accounts in my name, make transfers, create debt, all under the guise of my care. The fabricated receipts were elaborate. Fake invoices from medical providers, therapy services, facility deposits. He had created an entire paper trail to justify stealing $357,000 in just a few weeks. The house he bought with my money, put in Brittany's name, was seized as proceeds of crime. The tickets to Costa Rica were evidence of flight risk. Derek's lawyer withdrew from the civil case. Without representation, Derek missed filing deadlines. The judge dismissed his lawsuit with prejudice, meaning he could never file it again. But Derek still sat in jail, unable to make bail, awaiting trial on criminal charges. Patricia called me. "Hazel, we need to talk about the civil case. Even though Derek's suit is dismissed, you could file a counterclaim. Sue him for the money he stole, for emotional distress, for legal fees." "How much could I get back?" I asked. "Maybe $250,000 if we win. The house sale proceeds will help. That was seized and will be returned to you. The rest depends on what Derek actually has left." "Do it," I said. 3 months after Derek's arrest, he took a plea deal. 8 to 12 years in prison. Must pay restitution to all 6 victims. Must surrender all assets. The criminal trial would have been lengthy and expensive for the state. The plea deal was justice, even if not perfect. Brittany filed for divorce the day Derek entered his plea. She claimed she knew nothing about his crimes. The investigation suggested that was probably true. She had been using the money, enjoying the lifestyle. But Derek kept her in the dark about where it came from. The civil judgment came through 2 weeks later. The judge ruled in my favor on my counterclaim. Awarded me the remaining $63,000 in my accounts. The seized house, which sold for $234,000, proceeds to me. Restitution from Derek of $150,000 to be garnished from any future earnings, though he had none. $60,000 in damages for emotional distress and legal fees. Total, $507,000. more than the original sale price. But only $317,000 was actually available now. The rest would trickle in over years from garnishment, if Derek ever had money again. It was not everything, but it was enough. I used the money carefully, bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood, 2 bedrooms, one for me, one for guests, nothing fancy, 1,500 square feet, yellow siding, front porch. Small yard. It cost $180,000. I paid cash. The deed had one name on it, Hazel. I furnished it simply, put Walter's photos on the mantel, hung the quilt his mother made us, set up my sewing machine in the spare room. Carol came to visit, brought flowers, cried and apologized again. We sat on my new porch and talked. It would take time to rebuild trust, but we were trying. Paul came too, helped me fix a leaky faucet, said he was sorry at least 10 times. I forgave him. What else could I do? He was my son, and he had been fooled like everyone else. Tyler visited every week. Sometimes brought Emma. The kids were seeing a therapist to process their father's crimes. It was hard on them. Their dad was in prison, their lives upended. But they were resilient. The 5 women, Dolores, Janet, Ruth, Angela, and Teresa, became my closest friends. We met every month for lunch, called ourselves the Survivors Club. We had all been victimized by Derek, but we had fought back together. That bond was strong. Detective Morrison dropped by occasionally to check on me. We had coffee. She said our case had led to new protocols in her department for investigating financial elder abuse. Martha remained my best friend. I had stayed in her spare room for 4 months. She had never complained, never asked for anything. When I moved into my new house, I gave her $20,000. She cried and said it was too much. I said it was not nearly enough. 6 months after I moved into my yellow house, I sat on my front porch on a Saturday morning with a cup of coffee and Martha beside me. The sun was warm. Birds sang in the oak tree in my front yard. My small garden was starting to bloom with tomatoes and herbs. "This is nice," Martha said. "It is," I agreed. Tyler pulled up in his beat-up Honda. He was 17 now, learning to drive, learning to be a man. He got out carrying a toolbox. "Grandma," he said, "I'm going to fix that wobbly step you mentioned." "You do not have to do that," I said. "I want to," he said. He knelt down and started working. I watched him, this boy who looked so much like Walter had at that age, good and kind, despite everything his father had done. Emma came by later with Carol. They were baking cookies together, trying to rebuild their relationship. Emma was quieter now, more thoughtful. She hugged me when she arrived and held on a little longer than usual. "I am proud of you, Grandma," she said, "for fighting back." "I am proud of you too," I said, "for being strong through all of this." That evening, after everyone left, I sat alone in my living room. The house was small but perfect. The deed with only my name on it sat in a fireproof safe in my closet. My bank accounts had $307,000 in them, minus what I had spent on the house and furnishing. Enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life if I was careful. Derek was in prison. He would be there for at least 8 years, maybe 12. He would be in his 50s when he got out. Would he be reformed? Would he understand what he had done? I did not know. Part of me still loved him because he was my son. Part of me would never forgive him for what he tried to do to me. I thought about everything I had learned over the past year. About trust and betrayal, about family and greed. About fighting back when everyone tells you to give up. About finding allies in unexpected places. About the strength that comes from refusing to be a victim. I learned that your home is not just a building. It is your dignity, your autonomy, your right to choose your own life. When someone tries to take that from you, whether it is family or a stranger, you fight back. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with truth. And you do not fight alone. There are people who will stand with you. People who understand. Dolores, Janet, Ruth, Angela, Teresa. They had all been where I was. Alone and scared and victimized. Together, we were strong enough to stop Derek. Derek thought I was weak because I was older, because I was a widow, because I was his mother, and would just accept whatever he decided. He thought he could take my house, my money, my freedom, and I would go quietly into whatever facility he chose for me. He forgot that I had survived 67 years on this earth, raised 3 children through good times and hard times, worked every day, saved every penny, buried the love of my life and kept going, paid off a house through decades of discipline and sacrifice. I was not weak. I was strong enough to know when to bend and when to break. And when Derek pushed too far, when he demanded I leave my own home, I broke free. Not just from him, but from the idea that I owed anyone my home, my money, or my peace. The phone rang. It was Patricia. "Just checking in," she said. "How are you doing?" "I am good," I said. "Really good." And I meant it. Looking back now, I see how close I came to losing everything. If I had been just a little less stubborn, if I had not found the other victims, if Detective Morrison had not believed us, if the judge had not suspended the conservatorship, if Derek's plan had worked, but it did not work. Because I refused to give up, because 5 other women refused to stay silent, because sometimes, even when the system seems stacked against you, the truth wins out. My yellow house is small. The yard is not much. The furniture is simple, but it is mine, completely mine, and nobody can take it from me. That is worth more than any mansion, worth more than Derek's approval or Carol's worry or Paul's concern, worth everything. I hope my story helps someone else who might be facing a similar situation. Elder abuse is real. Financial exploitation happens more often than people think. Family members can be the ones who hurt you most. But you do not have to accept it. You can fight back. You should fight back. Find allies. Document everything. Get legal help. Go to the police. Do not be embarrassed or ashamed. You did nothing wrong. The abuser is the one who should be ashamed. And if you are the family member who sees something wrong happening to an elderly parent or relative, do not assume you know the whole story. Ask questions. Listen. Believe them when they tell you something is wrong. Do not let anyone isolate or control them. I sit on my porch most mornings now. Watch the sunrise. Drink my coffee. Sometimes Martha joins me. Sometimes Tyler stops by before school. Sometimes Detective Morrison texts to say hello. The Survivors Club meets next week for lunch. My life is different than I imagined it would be at 67. I thought I would be living in the house where Walter and I raised our children. I thought Derek would be someone I could trust. I thought my golden years would be peaceful and surrounded by loving family. Instead, I am in a different house. My son is in prison. My family is fractured and slowly healing. My life was torn apart and put back together in a new shape. But I am free. I am safe. I am home. And the deed has one name on it. Mine. Now I want to ask you something. Have you or someone you love ever faced a situation where family took advantage of trust? Where someone tried to take control of your life or your assets? How did you handle it? What advice would you give to others in similar situations? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who is struggling right now. And if this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming adversity and finding strength when life gets hard. Share this with anyone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we are stronger than we think. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it brought you some comfort or inspiration. Remember, your home is your sanctuary, and you have the right to protect it and yourself. Stand strong, find your allies, and never give up on what is rightfully yours. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.